Welcome to the drawing board. I'm your host and in-house artist, Erin Leffler. If you joined me before here on the drawing board, big welcome back to you. And if it's your first time with me, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what happens here on the show. Every episode of the drawing board, I invite a guest from around the entertainment industry, and we learn a little bit more about what they do. And we also learn more about them, which is pretty cool. And while we're doing this, I'm also drawing them in real time. Pretty fun, right? Well, I am super excited to introduce y'all to my guest today because this is somebody I have been a big fan of her work for quite a long time, and I cannot wait for y'all to meet her. She is an artist, a puppeteer, and also a Disney Imagineer, which I have a feeling that y'all are just going to love to learn about her. Please welcome my guest, Terri Hardin. Hi there!
Hi, everyone. How are you doing today? There we go. Now I got this right.
Man, I am so excited. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm excited because it looks like there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's things going positively. I'll bet you some of the kids here are thinking of going back to school. You know, I never really thought that people would be eager to go back to school, but it turns out there's a lot of people that are eager to go back to school. So kudos to you if you're eager to go back to school.
I'm gonna be honest, I was not one of those kids who ever, I loved school, I just didn't love going back to school, so I'm right there with you. I never envisioned hearing anyone say they were excited about that.
Yeah, of course, in my day, there were no computers. So maybe that's the thing that just made you want. I did way too much computers. I got to do something. I got to see my friends for real. So I get it. But I think that is one of the most exciting things that's happening is that it looks like we're finally getting a clue. My fingers are crossed. Yes, please.
Definitely. There's so much light at the end of the tunnel. It's so nice because everyone's got this wonderful renewed sense of hope now with it.
Yeah, there's still some people out there that are trying to make it happen too fast and are doing some things I wish they wouldn't because I definitely don't like to do things over. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes and see what happens. So
Absolutely. Well, while we're still in the pandemic, I love getting to do this because we get to talk with people all over the place, especially thanks to this wonderful tool we have with Zoom, which is absolutely awesome that maybe we wouldn't have gotten to before. So I am very excited to have you on the show and ask you a couple questions. Now, I don't know if my kids are familiar with what you do because I did mention a couple things. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your work and what you've done?
yeah, I think a lot of things that kids really like is that if you like Disney and you like Disneyland and you like Disney World and you like Epcot and you like Animal Kingdom and all of that, I am one of the people who designs the attractions, or rather the things you ride. So you can take pictures, walk on, stand under, and experience a lot of my attractions all over the world. I'm best known for my dragon, and I have a picture of, whoops, do I have a picture of my dragon? Now my dragon, see, my dragon is getting cranky. So there's my dragon. And my dragon is in Paris. And what I got to do was actually build a 35-foot working articulated dragon. So if you're out there and you're imagining that you want to build something grand and massive, I love dragons. Used to draw them all the time and sculpt them all the time. I'm a sculptor by trade, use clays and waxes and things like that. And I did this dragon for Paris. You can go to Paris, Disneyland, and actually see a live, breathing, smoking dragon. So that's what I'm known for. If you don't happen to live in Paris or haven't been to Paris and you've been to Walt Disney World, you've climbed onto the Splash Mountain boat and seen the little rabbit that's on the front. That's mine as well. And I sculpted and designed that boat texture, not the boat, but the texture, and then the rabbit that's on top. So those are the couple of my Disney things that I've done. And then I'm also a puppeteer I've been a Jim Henson puppeteer, or let's make it a little clearer, the people who do Kermit and Miss Piggy. I'm part of that group. And I've done movies like The Country Bears and movies like Ghostbusters. I did the Marshmallow Man puppetry and helped build him. And then I played the temple dog that Sigourney Weaver turns into. So the monster dog that she turns into at the end, I've played that character. So I did that. And then there's a TV show called Dinosaurs in which I played Baby Sinclair with a team of really wonderful people who, as a puppeteer, it's a team thing. So we're all part of Team Baby, and this is Team Baby right here. So you may remember, not the mama, not the mama, not the mama. So I'm the one with the wild haircut. Next to him is Kevin and John, and we are Team Baby Sinclair. So that's kind of what I've done, and make collectibles and do all kinds of crazy stuff. But that's kind of where my history lies.
That is amazing. And I love the versatility there. There's so many different things that we can chat about with that because I love when people have different avenues that they've worked because it's honestly something that about this industry not a lot of people take into consideration that you can do different things in this industry.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yes, that's absolutely true. When I was a little girl, I wanted to be an actor. And I got into acting when I was in the eighth grade. And my teacher, who is an amazingly profound, imaginative teacher, she said, "You do all kinds of things, Terri. You build, you sculpt, you act, you perform. Why not do them all? Because everybody loves a bargain." And so that's the way I left eighth grade, as just, okay, I'll build the costumes, I'll build the puppets, I'll play the puppets, I'll teach about the puppets. And then that's what a lot of people say, is they'll just say, "Oh my gosh, you do so much." And I'll look back now and I'll say, yeah, that wow, I sort of have done a lot, haven't I? So doors of opportunities open, you must go through them. Do not hesitate.
Love it. It sounds like you've been doing this for a while too. I have to ask. It's a very interesting question because there's a lot of different opinions on this. You
Mhm.
started out, it sounds like, at a young age. Did you go to schooling for this?
Some of it. So one of the things that I have to say is that I'm mixed races, which means my mother, so my mom is white and my dad is black. I'm also 63, almost 64 years old. So because of that much track record that I have, um, I think that what really makes you is your foundation and your history. So let's make it a little simpler. Where you're from and what you are, you need to be proud of. You can't be embarrassed by it. You can't be, I think you need to just own it. And in my case, it took me a while to do that because I wanted my hair stuck out in all directions because it came from my father. It looked better wet than it did dry. I mean, if you're a black kid, you know what I mean. You've got the hair. This is my hair. And dreadlocks actually saved my life because trying to maintain my hair while being an artist was really a challenge. And my mother, being white, didn't know what to do, and she kept using a comb. And if you're anybody out there who's a black
Ooh.
person, a comb is not it,
No.
unless you've done other things, to make it. And I remember I was 3 and
No.
my mother tried to comb my hair and she was crying and I was crying. And so my father came home and saw my poor white mother just really having a meltdown. And so they took me up to the black half of my family on my dad's side. And my aunties and everything said, "Oh, you poor thing," to my mom. And then they pulled out the ironing board, set the iron on the cotton setting, said, "Come here, sweetheart." And they brought me over. They put my hair on the ironing board and they ironed my hair. Because back then there were no curling irons, there was no such thing. So we used the iron to iron our hair. And everybody goes, "What are you talking about?" I remember my mother's face was like, "Wah!" you know. But she did find after it was ironed, it was easier to be combed. So so that was, my mom kind of got an education from that side of the family because she had this little girl and my hair stuck out in all directions, which means that that it was blonde and it stuck out in every direction. So I got reactions from people that weren't necessarily friendly. Here's a picture of me as an Imagineer, and this is what my hair looked like. So you can see it's everywhere, but it's got a little bit of straight from my mother, and then it's got all of the stand-up ability, if you will, from my father. And people just didn't know what to do with it. So I was bullied and all that kind of stuff. I think many kids get bullied, and I wasn't any different. One kid saw that, thought haystack, tried to set it on fire. So you have all this kind of stuff that's happening as a kid. And meanwhile, your parents say, uh, just whatever you feel like doing, whatever you want to be, we want to support it. So at 8 years old, I decorated Easter eggs, and you know how it is, guys. You get out the dyes, and I mean, I don't even know if you get out dyes and dye Easter eggs anymore. It's been such a long time since I've done it. So I apologize if I'm telling you something that's not really true. But I did these Easter eggs, and my mother saw them, and I was 8 years old, and she saw these Easter eggs. These are my Easter eggs, and she took them to work and sold them for $20 a piece. And I'm 8. So basically, why am I saying this to you? Because people worry that an artist is going to be broke, that an artist is going to be starving, that an artist is going to be homeless. And so your parents may have good intentions, but they worry for you because they're your mom and dad, and they don't want you to be wanting to be an actor, because then they think you're going to spend your whole life being a waiter, and they don't want you to be an artist because they think you're going to be spending your whole life being homeless. So basically you just have to own it, and you have to fight for it. And I just decided to not take that book off the shelf, to not believe that I was going to be broke. And I haven't, I've earned from my art ever since I was 8 years old. So I tell a lot of people, if you've got the vision and you've got the passion, you can make it happen. But you also have to learn how to market your work, how to talk about your work, and how to sell your work. And people don't like the word sell, but the word sell, you do it every time you interview for a job. You are selling, you are working to sell yourself over the next guy waiting in the waiting room, or whenever you audition for a part or a role. Just own it. And if you believe you really can do it, then go for it. So that was the thing that started it all. And I got my first job working on a television show called Barnaby Jones, and I was 13. This is because I had hand painted I had taken a pair of jeans and hand painted art all over my jeans. And I wore them to see Barnaby Jones, which was filming at a nearby gas station near my house. I rode my bikes like in E.T., and we didn't have ET, but we had the bikes, and we rode the bikes, and we watched the filming, and there were people there that saw these pants and flipped out over these pants. And the producer saw them, and he said, "Hey, would you be interested in following us? We're shooting on location for a few days and illustrating for our actors their director's chairs." And so I did their director's chairs, and I did jackets, and I did script bags and all kinds of things. I just sketched my characters all over them, and they paid me to do it. And so more money. So I think if you believe that and you go for that, it just opportunities start to happen. So don't let anybody dictate to you what your life is going to be. You don't have to be mean about it. You can just be, "Oh, well, okay, that's your opinion." Or you don't even have to say, "Okay, that's your opinion." You can just smile and nod and say, "Okay," and keep doing what you do.
That is incredible. I love that. And I love that you pointed out about the fact that you can just kind of like go and get a head start at it too, because that's something a lot of people tend to shy away from when you're younger. They're like, "Oh no, you don't have to worry about that now." If you feel like doing it and you're inclined, that's always a great thing to get a head start with.
Yeah, and take pictures. It's easier now, guys. Like, let's see, I don't know how old many of you are out there, but let's see you're 8. Let's use the magic number of 8 years old. If you're older or you're younger, you're still going to get 8 years old. You're 8 years old and you want to design rides for Disney. Okay. When I was 8 years old, there was barely something called a television set. Okay. So the idea of a computer was this massive computer thing, and a phone was something you could knock people out with. It was not a little computer that you hold in your hand that you search for stuff. There was nothing called Google. We didn't have that. It's this antique thing called a newspaper. Don't even know if you know what that is. And we did things through what they call the mail. But other than that, we didn't really have a lot of ways. Now you guys have this. You have social media. And in social media, there's all this magic that happens. All you have to do is put it up there, show it off. And here's the key: tell people what you want to do. Because if you just put your art up on social media, people are just going to like it. This is because this is what we've been told to do. But you need to also whether you do it in a little video or you do it in a little short story like Instagram stories or Facebook Live or whatever you want to do. And you guys know this venue better than I ever will, that you say to yourself, hey, you know, I want to be an Imagineer. Here's what I've done. And then you just demonstrate it. And you will not believe how far that goes, because Disney is watching, as is anybody else in the industry. If you're someone that makes glorious costumes or you do something fun and fantastic, all you have to do is post it now, because people are hunting for that person that they want to shine a light on. So, and that makes the playing field even for everybody. That makes it so any one of you guys out there can do this at any age. And you start, and then you take pictures of it. You document your process. For those of you who even know what algebra is, a lot of times you may have done some math and your teacher says, I love that you got the answer. How many of you heard this? I love that you got the answer, but I got to see the work. And you go, no.
Oh. Oh no, that just brought back terrible flashbacks.
I want to show the work. And your teacher says, but you must. And you're like, why? I got the answer. Isn't that enough? And the teacher says, no, I got to see the work. So we do it into something fun for you. You show your process and then you show your work. And that way, when Disney is watching, they're going to call you up. And then when Disney calls you up on the phone and says, hey, we really want to bring you in to be an Imagineer or an illustrator or an animator or whatever, all you have to do is think about what kind of price you're going to charge to have them hire you. So that's much more fun than walking around and begging for a job. No.
Absolutely. Along with what you were saying before, you brought up something that I love talking about. You brought up the fact that you're biracial, and that in this industry for a while was very much a challenge, and today even still presents challenges because we have a lot of work still to go, but there have been positive strides towards diversity in this industry, getting to see people who look like us, who speak the same languages and come from the same places we do, getting to do the jobs that we want to. Do you think that's important for kids to be able to see people who are just like them doing the jobs they want to, and if they don't, should it hold them back from attempting to?
Yeah, I don't think anything should hold you back, because you can always be the first, right? Like, you know, there were always men, well, let's say, there were always men astronauts, but then a woman said, why not me? And then there's women firefighters. And for the longest time, firefighters said a woman cannot be a firefighter, where some woman somewhere drew the line in the sand and said, want to bet, buddy? You know, that's all. Want a bet, buddy? And I'm going to prove you wrong. And I think, like my father says, my father, who is an amazing man, and this is what my dad looks like. For all of you who'd like to know what my father looks like, that's my dad. My dad is now 86, and he's just such a lovely person, and he's my hero. And so he said, poison isn't effective unless you take it. And this is a very, very pertinent piece of advice for you guys. If you take these poison words in and you embrace these poison words, then the poison is going to be able to do its job. But if you stand by the little rhyme, I guess it was a nursery rhyme, I am rubber and you are glue, whatever you say bounces off of me and sticks to you. If you keep it that way, the poison can't come in. And all you can do is be the best you that you can, and therefore prove to people that are judging you based on something that you cannot change. I am white skinned. I have not done anything other than just was born white to a black and white couple. And people kept telling me this isn't possible. And as a kid, you don't know how to answer that. People look at you and they don't say, what are you? They say, you're not possible. Black people can't have white kids. Okay. What are you going to say to that? Are you going to argue it?
No, that's a strange thing to try to figure out how to respond to.
Okay, but you've seen my dad. And this is my sister, extremely beautiful, lives in Maui. She looks more black. She is more a person of color visually. So people would say you don't look like sisters, and I would make jokes. Yeah, we're as different as night, her being night, day, me being day. We're as different as night and day. So you have to kind of have a humor about it, or at least that's what my father was teaching me, is that, Terry, what are you going to do about it when somebody tells you you can't be black because you're white? And I would say my butt should be the answer to that. Sorry, kids, but I have a I have an African behind. So nice shapely behind. So I'd say, most white people don't get that shapely behind without extra help. So that should be enough. And people would just say, "Are you serious?" And they would think you were, but I mean, if you keep it lighthearted and upbeat, I think, and you can't always be this way. And I'm not always this way, but I am always I'm always very positive and very open. I feel if you share your heart with enough people, you're going to find people who will share their heart with you. So I think one of my most memorable experiences like this was that I did a job called Captain EO, which is a Disney show with Michael Jackson. Many people have opinions about Michael Jackson, but I worked with Michael Jackson and was his friend for 7, 8 years. And I absolutely adored the man. But I'm going to tell you a little story about him that you might be very surprised about. And that is, one day I was having lunch, and I usually tried to go on the set, the movie set of Captain EO, to eat so I could be by myself. Being on a movie set can be very chaotic, very loud, very noisy, and you have to stay focused on your work. So in order to stay focused, I would not have a lunch with everybody else. I would seclude myself on the set and eat. Well, on that day, Michael was there, and I heard his voice, and I said, "Michael," and he said, "Yes." And I said, "Are you working? Do I need to leave? Let you work?" He said, "No, no, no. Why don't you have lunch?" So we sat on the steps of the witch's palace, and we had lunch. And I told him I wanted to ask him a personal question. This was 1985. Many of you may not have even been born then, but I will tell you, in 1985, Michael Jackson was the it guy. There was nothing
Definitely.
he couldn't do. Billie Jean and Thriller and all of these amazing musical accomplishments he did. Plus, he was this dancer from heaven. So he was really on his game in the 80s, and 85 was a big year for Michael Jackson, and that's the year that we were doing Captain EO. So I said to him, I said, "I've got a question for you. If I were a genie or the blue fairy, and I came down to earth and I said, 'Michael, for all of the wonderful things that you've done for people, I want to grant you 3 wishes,' what would those 3 wishes be?" And he said, "Number one, I'd like to have my childhood." When Michael Jackson was 4 years old, he sang a little song called ABC. And that actually sealed his fate as a young rock star. His parents, worried about their young 4-year-old boy, gripped him tightly and would not let him climb trees, get dirty. He could not do the things kids do. He couldn't eat a dog bone with his dog, or maybe see what an ant tastes like. They just didn't want Michael to be anything but kept in a little bubble. That was his first wish, was to be able to be a little kid. His second wish was to go to a shopping mall and not have to buy it first. Now, many of you know how this feels because we've been through the pandemic, and you used to probably go to malls to see your friends or to meet with people or to have a party or maybe just spend the day and buy something cool. But Michael had to buy the entire shopping mall in order to shop, or he could not shop because he was so popular. And the third thing he wanted to do was to walk among people and not be recognized. Now, this is a big one because all of us do that every day, don't we? We get to go shopping at a grocery store by ourselves, and we get to do stuff by ourselves and with our families, but nobody goes, "Look, it's blah," right? And so, what is Michael telling us? What is Michael Jackson actually saying with these 3 wishes? This is what he's actually saying. He's saying that for all his money, for all his fame, and for all his talent, he wants to be you. Michael's dream was to be you. And I want you to really think about that, guys, because that's jaw-dropping if you really think about it. He, of all the things that Michael Jackson did, maybe you were wishing to be Michael Jackson, but what you really need to get is that if he had had his choice, he would ask to be you, because he missed being able to shop for himself. He missed being able to climb a tree, and he missed all of that other stuff. And because he never got to do it, is it any surprise he was a bit weird? Because to be isolated, to be protected, to be guarded so tightly, it's very difficult. You must know with the pandemic now, having to study online, being kept from going outside, being isolated, that you can begin to kind of feel how he must have felt his whole life. So it was just such an amazing thing. It's the one question I'm really glad that I asked anybody that I've met, because it really made me realize the blessings I had as a non-celebrity human being.
I think we all tend to take that for granted a little bit, because you can't trade an ordinary life for the world. There's nothing that stacks up to it.
And in today's world, we get swept up. Like, we want to be a YouTube star. Do we really? You really have to think about, do you want 5 million views? If you really have thought about this and you still want to have 5 million views, power to you. But what I've noticed is people who have 5 million views aren't real happy. They'll say, oh my gosh, what did I do? You know, now everywhere I go, I have to create content. I'd like to live my life. Thank you. And it's just a really interesting thing that I've realized as I've watched people that I follow and admire that and go, wow, that's pretty cool. They have, no, wait, that might be cool for them, but is it really cool for you? Just ask yourself what kind of person you are and if that's really what you want. In some cases, that's exactly what they want. They like that fame, you know. I think the Kardashians feed off that fame. They really like their fame. And that's so yay for them, they've got their fame. But there are people that don't necessarily think that's as good as they thought it was going to be.
I'm right there with you. More power to them, because I don't know how anybody can live like that.
And don't you feel obligated when you have like 5,000 views? I was like, what if I have 1,000 people on my YouTube channel, which I don't yet, but I was like, what if I have 1,000? That sounds about right. That sounds like, you know, you remember Goldilocks? Okay, so the cold porridge might be too cold and the hot porridge might be too hot, but the porridge in the middle could be just right. And there's nothing wrong with having porridge in the middle. There's nothing wrong with having a little bit of a following and swimming in those waters and helping those people, as opposed to becoming hot porridge, you know?
And you just brought up a great point about that too, is if like your focus on what it is, because at the time when you get that big following and everything, it's a challenge to create things for yourself that feel very fulfilling. You feel like you're constantly creating just so you can get those more views and everything. So do you think that's an important thing that kids learn ahead of time before getting into whatever career they're in, is if they're following it for the passion or following it for views?
I absolutely do. People that are telling you how to become a YouTube, you know, a sensation in YouTube. Let's put that in parentheses, because what does that actually mean? The main thing they say is, in order to grow your channel or grow your Instagram page or grow your Facebook page. I know a lot of kids don't even go on Facebook, but let's include the older kids too, okay? Because I am. But the point is this: if you are genuine and you are authentic, they're always using the word authentic, which is like they want the real you to come through the camera and touch people. Okay. But what many people who have become YouTube stars have discovered is that they've lost themselves in the great journey to get more followers. And the next thing they know, they're performing like a circus dog. They're sitting there thinking, what sensational, stupid, idiot thing can I do? Or can I be mean? Or can I be sensationalistic? Can I swear? Can I do something? And if that's not you, then why would you change it and why would you do that? And the answer is because I want more views and it seems to be working. But then when you finally get up there, you're not going to always, it doesn't last. You're not going to always want to do something that's not you. So I think it's good for you to take a minute and look to the future. I know it's hard when you're young to even look to the future. What are you going to be when you grow up is kind of as far as it goes. So I don't want to assume that you can't, but it's really a good idea to, along the steps of the way, check and look and see how comfortable you are. Me at 63, I know I don't want a gazillion followers because I may not want to always do video content. So I'm trying to find where I'm comfortable, because as an artist and as artists, we want to draw and we want to paint and we want to sculpt and we want to film and we want to do plays and we want to act and we want to have the freedom to do that. But if you are on social media, you have to make sure the cameras are at special angles so that a person can see what you're doing. You've got to speak to them, so you explain what you're doing. You've got to present, and that slows flow down. So, you just, sometimes you'll hear people say, all I want to do is make a film. I don't want to break it down into how I do it and why this angle and why that angle. And those are people who are YouTubers who have just exploded and they want that time to just be like they were. Not all of them, some just really take to it, but those are the ones who should be it. So that's why I'm kind of talking about that a little bit today as an Imagineer, because as I've done a lot of stuff and I love it. And I don't mind teaching people, for example, how to do puppets, but there are some days I just want to do a puppet and be left alone. Just, I don't want to film it. I want, just do it, and with so fewer viewers on YouTube, I can still do that. But the point is to say, okay, if that's starting to overtake more than me wanting to actually film and show, I need to weigh that. I need to see where that balance is. And that may not be as easy as just running with being on fire. There's a young girl, she travels in a van, and in 20 days I think she went to like 2 million views, but she's a woman who travels alone. And I think to myself, here's a woman driving, a very lovely woman driving around in a van and parking places, and I worry that, is she safe? I think a lot of people that watch her because they're encouraging her to be careful. Please don't do what you just did. Don't go swimming out in the ocean by yourself alone, and then we're watching it on camera because we want you to be safe. Please don't take unnecessary chances, is what a lot of people will say. So you wonder if a lot of those followers are ones looking for a train wreck, looking to witness a train wreck, or looking to hopefully somehow keep enough eye on her that maybe they feel like they can protect her in some way. But to me, I just can't imagine a 20-year-old girl driving around in a van alone and parking it on the side of the road. To me, that sounds crazy in today's world. It just made my stomach hurt. So I was like, I can't, and yes, she's got a lot of followers, but I would really love it if she would have a giant killer dog, Could she travel with a Rottweiler? I'd feel so much better if she would just travel with a giant Rottweiler.
Oh man, that would come in so handy too.
They open the door to get her, and there's that giant monster dog. It was just like, just that's all I'm suggesting, is perhaps your companion could be a monster dog. She does have a snake, I think, but the snakes move slow. Okay, so hopefully the people have a phobia, but snakes aren't real fast. They're not real fast creatures. So please consider having a giant dog of some sort that travels with you in the van. And I know you're going to have to take him out for walks and make a lot of stops, but trust me, it's going to be a lot better than being in danger. And people have done all kinds of suggesting on that. I don't follow her, but she was brought to my attention because someone said she's an enigma. She got all these followers in a month. Wow, and you go, okay, congratulations, but now that you have them, would you please just be safe? Because I don't want to read that you were hurt in any way, and I don't want anyone to be like that. So As an artist, I think that's what you worry about.
I do love the point that you bring up too here with creating content versus safety because especially with being online nowadays, that is a big challenge because there are a lot of different ways that it can become unsafe when you're creating things and putting it up for people online. Do you think learning online safety is good before
Yeah.
getting into this sort of career?
Yes, I do. And I think teachers have done some. I mean, one of the things about the pandemic is I've seen some really super creative things that teachers have done to keep all y'all engaged while you're in this thing called this Zoom call, which can be really tedious and annoying, especially with family. You just go, oh my gosh, what are they talking about? I'm dying here. And but I remember one teacher, she had preschool kids, and she could just see, like you were saying, kids don't sit still for very long. I know because I don't sit still for very long. But but what was happening was they were all getting fidgety, and they were really, she could tell on the Zoom call that they were kind of looking around and not doing anything. So she had a whoopee cushion and she made a fart sound. And she said, "Who did that?" And that got all of their attention, everybody giggling. Okay, come on, fess up, own up, who did it? And all the little kids are looking around on the Zoom call trying to figure, and then they're all kind of, and she'd do it again. And it was just hilarious. It was one of the cutest little things. They showed it on the news, and it was really cute. And I thought, this teacher's brilliant because this teacher gets what, kids love that potty humor. And she just did a little tiny bit, nothing major, but she did enough to keep their attention. And so now they're listening to her, trying to wait for the next time they hear the farty sound. But who cares? She's got them all their attention. And it was so creative. I just thought that's just so funny. It's just really funny. And I think that that's what you can do if you think about, the nature of children and instead of trying to make kids do something that they're not naturally going to do, kind of figure out what was it like when you were a kid, and what did you do to make it, what do you do with your friends and stuff when it's to make it fun. And I think that creativity is the best. So yeah, you can always say to yourself that you see these people you admire that are really famous on some of these social medias, but you can too. Just make sure, you're not doing anything crazy like jumping off of, you see kids do things and you're like, oh my gosh, what were they thinking, going down a hill in a shopping cart, and there's no way to stop you don't want to make your parents worry. You don't want them to see a video and then be terrified. Do things creative, not insane. Okay, guys, just tell you're older. When you're older, at least they can say, well, that guy was a nut. Otherwise, it's who put that kid up to it,
So a bit of a less serious question because those were a little more serious.
They are.
I love
they?
chatting.
Sorry, guys.
They are. I love chatting a little bit about this though because there is a lot of misinformation when it comes to being online. A lot of places show that the only way to be good at a job is just doing that job all the time. And even in a creative field, that can wear on your brain a little bit. So I love chatting a little bit about hobbies. Do you think hobbies help us be better at our job? And do you have any in particular that you like to do?
I think hobbies are just wonderful, but what are we talking as a hobby? Okay. If you're looking to draw or illustrate to someday be an animator or someday be an illustrator, that's not a hobby, that's training. So the importance of a hobby is to possibly do something that you love that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make a living at it. Okay. It's there for you to have fun. Now, that doesn't mean that something could come along from your hobby and you're all of a sudden making a living at it. Let's say you love to cook, or you love to make pastries, or you love to do desserts or whatever. Someone comes along and says, you know what, Snooky, you should be selling these cookies. Now, I don't think Snooki spent their time saying, as a little kid, all I want to do is make cookies. Maybe they did, but I would say it probably started out as a hobby the family did. They had a family recipe, and all of a sudden somebody says, you know what? This could be a business. And you don't want to say, no, it's a hobby. I shouldn't do that. It's not that. But hobbies are very, very good for that. And you can have a lot of them. So if you're curious about something, you can start to do it. So as a sculptor, I sculpted because I needed something that allowed me to do art and act, because no one wanted to hire me as an actor during my day because they didn't like the way I looked. They didn't want my look on camera. I looked mixed and they didn't like that in my day. Now they love that. They love someone who looks mixed. They love those what they call exotic. They love those looks. So that's not a situation nowadays. But back in my day it was. In fact, they told my mom when I auditioned for a commercial as a little girl, we can't use her. She looks mixed. I mean, in the film industry, they can say a lot of things they would never be able to say in a normal situation, but that's the way movies and TV and the entertainment industry is. You're not black enough, you're too white, you're not white enough, you're this, you're that. They can say these things and not get in trouble. And that is very sad, but it's the truth. So it means that if you're going to be in that industry, you got to have kind of, you've got to understand that they're not really talking about you, but your product. But if we go back to hobby, then as a sculptor, I found out that if I could sculpt my puppet characters, I could create my puppet characters and then make my puppets and then perform my puppets. My puppets were the actors and you didn't see me. So nobody cared what I looked like and I could still perform. So my hobbies, which were art and puppetry, came together to create my career based on that. And I performed like crazy. I had all these different characters I made. I took pictures of them, put them in a book. Now you can put them on an iPad or your computer, or you can post them on Instagram and flip through them if you're going to show somebody. But in my day, I had a hard, big, huge, giant book that had photographs in it, and I flipped through to show them what I did. So now, one hobby that I've always loved is Lego. I've always done Legos. I love Legos. I'm crazy about Legos. I have a stepson, and when my boyfriend at the time said, I'm going to introduce you to my son. And of course, as a young man, if you come from a divorced family and your mom or dad is bringing someone new in and it's not your mom or dad, you can be a little bit upset about it. But I told my son, Ian, my new son, Ian, that I was not replacing his mom. I was just that extra friend. And when he came down, I said, do you want to build Lego? And he was, Lego. And I got out a giant mattress, a giant like twin mattress. Don't take the one off your bed. But I had this mattress, and then we built a Lego city on top of the mattress. And then I asked my son, are you the townspeople that scream and run, or are you the monster? And he would say, what does the monster do? And I said, he stomps on the mattress and destroys the town. Have you seen Godzilla? And he was like, yeah, I've seen Godzilla. Well, you're going to be Godzilla. I mean, unless you want me to be Godzilla. So his father came home one day and we were having a great time because he was rah, 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 terrorizing. And I was, help, there's a monster. Here he comes, you know, and all the people. And this is what we did. We went all this silly stuff. And so I became one of his best friends, only I was I was his dad's girlfriend. So whenever he had a problem, I would say, I'm the person you can talk to, because I won't tell your parents what you say, but I will encourage you to tell your parents how you feel. So I'm someone you can bounce the ideas off, and then I'm going to maybe make suggestions. And that worked out really, 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 really well. We were just buddies. If he had any kind of thing he wanted to ask me, he knew he could ask me. Frankly, I wouldn't judge him. I wouldn't say anything like that. And his mother would have a challenge, because he'd say, Terri's not my mom. She's my best friend. You know, she's one of my best friends. You know, I go down there. He was so happy to come down and play for the weekend. And then we would send him back up to be with his mother, and he used to ask if I didn't like his mom. And I think when you're if you're a woman and you're two women, one's the ex-wife and one's the new girlfriend, you need to bear in mind that it's the child that is the most important. So you can't say mean things to each other. I mean, you can, but try to do it in a way that doesn't hurt the child, because you're always going to be the mom and the dad regardless, and the girlfriend. So I remember Ian one day sat down with me and he said, why don't you hate my mom? And I said, your mom and dad did the best thing in the world that I can think of. And he said, what's that? And I said, had you. Can't happen if they didn't have you. And you've become one of my best friends. So I will always love your mom, and I will always love your dad. And so, hobbies like Lego were something that I was just obsessed with. I love the brick, the eight, they call it the eight. It's my favorite brick, the eight. And they don't do it enough now. Lego tends to build, like, you can pay for $800. You can get the Galaxy Cruiser from the Star Cruiser from Star Wars. But the problem is it's the Star Cruiser from Star Wars. The 8 can be all kinds of things. So I really, really love just having the Lego and building those kind of things as a hobby. It doesn't really mean you're going to be a Lego rock star in the future. You could, but that's just to have you relax, have fun, remember what it is to do something fun that has absolutely nothing to do with anything else, like a puzzle. Puzzle's another way a lot of people do. But I would highly recommend to people that have a hobby that you don't have to have the obligation of, you've got to get better and better and better at putting the puzzle together. You know what I mean? You pull out a jigsaw puzzle, you don't have a time clock like chess and go, okay. I mean, maybe somebody does to see how fast you can do it. I think that's just nuts. You do it to relax, watch a movie, you're putting a puzzle together with family or by yourself, and you're just, I'm going to do something like that. That's what I think a hobby means. It's just some way to chill.
That's awesome. And I love the fact that you were able to find one of your closest friends through a hobby. I think that's a great thing to bring up too, because you can often form connections through a hobby and not even realize it.
Yeah. And here's the thing. If it's a little kid, you say, if you're going to be that interloper, and a step parent is an interloper with children, I know you don't want to think of yourself as an interloper, but you are. And that's just the way it is. Don't try to rethink it. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. And just figure out some ways, fun ways that you can get to know the little kid, because the kid, it doesn't even have to be a little kid, 15, 16, 18. Just acknowledge they're in the room and acknowledge that you understand this is disrupting for them. Just do it. And then figure, I mean, it's not always easy. But hopefully it's something that can go a lot easier if you do it. Yeah, that's what I think. And then I'll speak to people about being artists, and you want to be an artist, and maybe drawing isn't your thing, maybe painting isn't your thing, so you say, okay, what could possibly be your thing? Well, what about pumpkins? Does everybody do pumpkins? These are some of my pumpkins. This is something that I teach. I teach all ages.
Wow.
How to sculpt pumpkins. And they sculpt them like this. So they can light them and they look beautiful. And it's very simple to do. This is an otter, a little otter. And then you've got giant pumpkins with dragons and skulls and stuff, whatever you want to do. I teach this class. I show you how to do it. It's not always perfect, but it is a fantastic way to teach people to realize that their artist is in there. It just doesn't have to be professional. And and you'll be surprised. Sometimes your hobby becomes professional.
So I'm sure you've had an incredible amount of things that you've done in your career, and all in different facets, which I think is really cool. But we can all have something that we're more partial to that we've worked on, whether it be a favorite project we've done, a favorite person we've worked with. Are there anything from your career that just kind of stand out as one of your favorite things that you got to do or some of your favorite people you got to work with?
That is a really good question. My favorite, there were two favorite things that I did. Captain EO with Michael Jackson, because he became one of my favorite people. I'll tell you another reason in a minute. And then my favorite thing I ever got to do was design the Dragon's Lair for Disneyland Paris. They don't usually, Disney doesn't usually allow women to do this, allow girls to do this. And this is because depending on where the park is going to reside, sometimes it's not as easy for a woman to do the type of stuff that I do, which is actually be out in the field and build the rocks and build the mountains. Kind of like being a fireman, except for not as grueling, but just as much a man's world. But they saw my passion and they saw how excited I was and they saw that I really loved it. And then they told me I couldn't go to the location to actual build the actual attraction, but that I could design the attraction A to Z. So then I said I want to pick the man who's going because I knew the man would follow my design and that's what I was looking for. But I love it because this dragon, I designed how the dragon wakes up, how the dragon sleeps, how the dragon reacts. Does smoke come from the dragon's mouth? Does the drag how and when sleeping, what are the paws doing? What is the tail doing? What is the breathing sound like? So I've loved dragons ever since I was so tiny. I drew them all the time. That it was so nice to actually make one that actually comes alive. And I got to work with all of the animators of Walt Disney Imagineering, all of the ones that do the audio animatronic figures help to make my dragon come to life. And would tell them, I want the paw to do this when it's sleeping, because when you see a dog and he's sleeping, his little paws will go like this because he's chasing a squirrel in his dreams, or he's chasing a cat in his dreams or something. So he's, oh, oh. And I remember that from my dog. So I said I wanted to put that in my dragon. And then the tail of the dragon swishes very calmly. And this I got from a cat, because a cat, their tail is very telling. If a cat is angry, that tail is swishing. And if a cat is happy, sometimes it moves, sometimes it doesn't move, sometimes it curls and twists around. But the tail is very telling on a cat. So I wanted my dragon to show everybody it was at peace while sleeping because of the tail. So all of this is what I did in this huge ride. And then I also designed the cave in which the dragon sleeps. So I decided how you were going to come in and the dragon was going to be revealed to you and stuff. So that was my favorite ride. One of my favorite people was Michael Jackson, because Michael says to me, Terri, you told me you're not much for music, which I apologize, I'm not. I'm all about movies. I love films. I love movies. I'm crazy about movies. And he asked me who my favorite actress was. And I said, you're going to think I'm pulling your leg. But my favorite actress is Elizabeth Taylor. And I said I loved a film she was in called Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. It's probably before many people's time, but gosh, I love this movie. And she's in a slip, and he says, what is it like to, how does a cat stay on a hot tin roof? Her husband says to her, and she goes, long as she can, honey, long as she can. And I did this for Michael, and he started laughing. Well, 3 days later, I'm in my puppet. I play these two characters called Idie and Odie. They're two bird-headed characters, and I do their puppet performing. And they pull the puppet off of me, and I'm sweaty, and I'm not really at my best. And Michael says, Terri, I want you to meet someone. And I turn around, and it's Elizabeth Taylor. Me, that's exactly the way I looked, Terri. I just went, ugh, and I'm like trying to make myself not be sweaty. How do you not be sweaty? I was just like, oh my God. And she's reaching her hand out to you. I think you're very talented. I hear you're very talented. And you're like, what? Yeah. Oh my gosh. And Michael would do that all the time. He would do that, little gifts like that. Unbelievable. To be able to sit with her and chat with her and tell her how much I loved her And all because Michael Jackson decided to. He said, and he probably said, I have a friend. I really would love it if you'd come to the set and shock her.
Wow, those are incredible. And I love the fact that they're such personal things to you. I think that's a lot of things that people tend to forget when it comes to jobs. And it's great to learn ahead of time for kids is that you can also very much enjoy what you do for work. It doesn't just have to be a job, but it can be something that you're passionate about. And you also have fun memories from working on.
Yeah, my grandfather on my dad's side was the last living Spanish American War veteran. He lived to be a little over 100, but he said to me when I was 9 years old, he said, all men must work for a living, but the wise man plays for a living. So I took that to heart, and I never took a job that I had to really work. I always took a job where I could kind of play at it. And I'm grateful that he told me that, because I really did. So I think you can. I think that there are things you can find that are fun and entertaining for you. And you don't want to suddenly find that life has passed you by and you're regretful. I wish I coulda, shoulda, woulda, and just know that it's never too late and you can always do it, and stick to your guns, you know, and just every day you can dream and you can believe, but in this day and age, you also have to fight for it. So you really have to fight for that dream. So when I wanted to be an Imagineer, which was a huge dream of mine, I was rejected easily for a full year before they accepted me. So it wasn't a skate. They kept telling my mother, who was working at the company, all she had to do was put this little blue card on and I would get interviewed. Not true. I got all these these stupid rejection letters that had Mickey Mouse on the letter. So it was like, not you. No, thank you. Never mind. You're not worthy. No. And I was just like, stupid mouse. So there were times that, letter after letter of this guy going, no. And I was like, that I finally said, okay, we're going to put this aside for a couple of months and I'll go work for a friend of mine. And I'll sculpt a few things for a friend of mine, and then we'll see. Maybe we'll revisit the Imagineering thing. And a friend walked in and said, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm sculpting Smokey the Bear heads, and I'm sculpting McGruff the crime dog, and I'm doing Sparky the dog for a lot of walk around suits, Charlie Tuna, small soldiers. And lo and behold, my friend walks in and he says, gosh, been a while. And I said, yeah. And I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm working for Disney. I said, oh. He says, what are you doing? I said, waiting for Disney to get a clue. And he said, what? And I said, I've applied for Imagineer. Here are my letters, this big, like a card deck. And he goes, well, let me see what I can do. And he walked in and he told them, about me. And they called me up and they had me in for an interview, and they saw my portfolio and they were like, where have you been? And I was like, stupid me. Stupid me. I kept knocking at the front door when I should have gone in the back.
Love it. Oh, I love it always seems like so over abundant that we get the rejections, and it comes in the weirdest way that the job will end up coming to us.
And 9 times out of 10, it's some bulldog who doesn't know anything. Okay. It's somebody at the front gate that's going, arr, arr, arr. And the person in back is going, I need a person who is this tall, who can do this, who is this shape. And then all of a sudden you walk in and they go, why did you take so long? And you're just like, really? So you can get yourself really upset, or you can just go, grain of salt, man. When it's meant for you and it is meant for you, it's going to come around, but it just may take some time. So what God will do is you might get kicked to the curb and you might get kicked in the stomach a couple of times. And there you are looking up going, really? And now the question is, are you going to stay down there, or are you going to get up, dust yourself off, and try again? And I am not kidding when I tell you how many rejection letters I got. And I was just like, nope, I know I'm supposed to be there. I just got to get in front of the right person. And finally I did, It's just funny. It's just one of those funny things that works the way it does, and you just keep going, and then know, as you get older in life, it doesn't necessarily get easier, but you hopefully get wiser, and things that really bothered you at age 20 really at age 60 become so different. And so, so people that are older you, when they're trying to give you their advice, try hard to listen. And if it's something that you really don't want to hear, just kind of fake it and then say thank you and then walk away. Be polite, but not everybody knows everything and they don't know you necessarily. So, um, if they ask your advice, great. If they don't, great. I'm constantly saying to myself, yeah, if they don't ask my advice, why tell them,
Hey, I mean, that way it's better not wasting your breath on it then.
And you become more economical, and you say to yourself, why am I spending time explaining it to someone that doesn't really want to know? Fine. Yeah. And don't justify it. Just, it is what it is, and you're going to do it. And success is the best form of revenge. Success is the best form of stating your point. All of a sudden, my grandparents said, why will you have your own show? That's 1 in a million. And what you want to say is, why not me being the one? You said 1 in a million. Why must I be 2 through 1 million? I'm going to be the one. And when I was 21 years old, I did my first television show. And I kept saying, I'm going to do my first show before I'm 25. Before I'm 25, I'm going to do my first TV show. And I did. And it was just because I just kept speaking it, just kept saying it, and looked, that makes you front of mind, makes it aware that that's what's going to happen, I could have come on with you, Erin, and just told you about all of my accomplishments. But I think when people are watching these, and I could be wrong, you want to know how you can do what someone like me has done. All of you out there, maybe you want to be an astronaut or an illustrator or an animator, the next Walt Disney, the next Jim Henson, the next pop star or whatever. And I'm here to tell you, you can, but it may not be an easy road. You just got to keep going and keep doing it, and you will surprise so many people. And with social media, it happens fast. It happens really fast. You remember that little girl who was a drummer? I don't know if you ever see her, and now she's drumming with like major bands.
Foo Fighters.
I rest my case. You just do it on social media. Somebody goes, whoa, and you just never know which way it's gonna turn out, because social media makes it a lot more immediate than it has in my day. So don't ignore it. Don't ignore it at all. You guys are the best at it. You grew up with this stuff, so you can bend it to your will. where I'm kind of like, YouTube, how do you upload again?
I know, I've gotten on that kick where I'm like, what am I doing here? I'm like, there are people who've grown up with this, and I'm just sitting here like, oh no. Like, this should be easier, but it's not.
And at least you're not the one that says, I'm not doing it. I'm not texting. I didn't text when I was a kid. I'm not texting. But the problem is if you want to communicate with young people, you got to learn how to text. You got to learn it. You're going to be left in the dust. You don't do it. My father texts, and the way I taught my father was talk to text. I'll get the weirdest messages, but he loves it. All of a sudden, it's opened this new world of young people. And my dad used to be a coach, so he really enjoys speaking with he loves the energy of high school kids and college kids and stuff like that. Many of them have their children. They coached with my dad, and now they're bringing their kids by to meet my dad, and they all text. So my dad is like, I really like this texting thing. It was hard at first, but there are people that I have a friend, she won't do it. Okay. No. You got to call me. We don't call anymore.
It's okay? Like calling doesn't work anymore. Everyone just wants it instantly, so we're just going to go text messages here.
Well, and because a phone call can take forever,
Yes.
Whereas texting is quick, that's why I like texting.
Man, I'm right there with you.
So I learned it. It was a little challenging at first, but now I'm really grateful for it because the person on the other end isn't trapped by my chattiness.
Oh man, I love it. Learning the technology does make things so much easier.
Yeah, but there are people who say, I'm not going to do it. And I feel sorry for you because it isn't easy for those of us who never had it in our lives, but it gets easier the more you do it, just like anything else. So, and hey, ask your kids how to do it. They know how to do it and they want to help you. You know, why are you looking at them like they're my kids? I'm not going to ask my kids what to do. I'm supposed to be the parent. Look, parents, you don't know how to do this. You know, I have an iPhone because I can hold it up like in Close Encounters and go, does anybody know how to? And everybody goes, ah!
Oh my goodness. That's definitely how it feels. I'm not even gonna lie. That is definitely how it feels.
One of my best teachers was 7. You know, get over it. Don't look at his age. Look at how well he texted. You know, their little thumbs are going like this. You know,
I know they can text so quickly.
Can you show me that, please? Because I am really lost. And they just loved it. Really? Yeah, I have no idea how to do this. And then they just make it work, you know? So, don't, you know, you got to take your ego out of the equation and let some of the, I mean, they are some of the best teachers. They really know how to navigate it. They really can help you get to where you need to go. You can try it your way, but trust me, it's going to take a lot longer. Just ask a young person, you know, that grandson, that son, friend of your son, whatever, you know, just do it. It's so much fun because they just love showing you how to do it. And you're just like, how old were you when you did this? 2, you know?
Oh man, yeah, that is totally true. Totally true. All these kids know so much wonderful information about technology nowadays, so it's kind of easier for them once they have also the information about stuff like getting into a career and stuff, combining the two of them. It's like an unstoppable force, and they can just go out and conquer the world.
Years ago, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs were enigmas and amazing. But the way we got kids working now, they could be someone that most people go, yeah, they were good at, they were before their time. But look how we are now. Everybody is creating something cool. Every time I turn around, there's something being shown on a Instagram or a Facebook page or a YouTube page, some ad where somebody has come up with some cool little device, and you're like, really? You know, hey, 15. I've got a ruler that you roll and it tells you digitally. And you're like, what? Where do I get that?
Yeah, that would be so helpful. These kids are coming up with some great things. It's kind of cool to see, like, all the things that they're able to do, especially with the technology they have now compared to when I was growing up or when you were growing up. There is so much they have at their disposal now that is just going to make it even better for them down the road.
And your audience can do it. I mean, honestly, I'm taking a painting class where the teachers are teaching you how to use the grid system, which is this system right here, right? And draw onto the canvas. But the reality states that you can do it digitally, blow it up, and transfer it. You know, if you know, do your sketch on the digital, then blow it up or take it to a printing place and blow it up to your size, whatever. And now you're going to graphite the back or put transfer paper on it and put it on there. Why are you struggling to draw it with the grid system when we have all of this technology? I mean, if that's what you want to do, cool. But I looked at it and said, seriously? You know, do you not have some? I mean, even if it's on your phone and you draw it on a phone, maybe you don't have a tablet to do it on. But I mean, they're so inexpensive now. Drawing, there's nothing wrong with sketching. There's nothing wrong with drawing, but drawing digitally is not cheating.
No.
It just makes it easier. You don't destroy your paper with the eraser as much, because you have this amazing thing called layers. and it's life changing. Layers are life changing. So, my gosh, digitally, why wouldn't you use new technology to aid in your painting? There's nothing wrong with it. But there are people that say if you don't do the sketch on the thing, whatever, dude, you know, I want to get to the painting part. I don't know about you, but I want to paint. I don't want to spend the whole year drawing. And if I can draw digitally, blow it up to the size I want, print it out, and then trace it on there, the size I want, just transfer it, and now I've got what I want to paint. What's the big deal? It's my sketch still. So, but it's funny how many teachers I've had that don't teach to suggest if you want to draw it on there, great. But also, if you'd like, do it digitally as well. You can do it digitally. And so I'm not real good with sculpting digitally. I just don't do it well. I have to feel the clay in my hands. But that doesn't mean people who do digital sculpting are cheating. It's just they're using tools at their disposal that make me kind of tilt, the Z brushes and things like that. So don't let people tell you that that's cheating. That is just it's new technology, People who use the pencil and all of a sudden they introduce the pen probably said if you wrote in pen, you were cheating, So let that progress. You don't have to use it, but I'm just saying. I sat there and said, why wouldn't I just do it digitally and blow it up, and so all my proportions are right and everything, you know. I mean, I know you're drawing digitally, right?
Yeah. I think that's a great thing too, because it's also very portable. Sometimes you don't have the capabilities of bringing all these different tools with you. And now we have these wonderful tools when it comes to portability, whether it be on an iPad. There's even Wacom tablets that are now completely mobile. You can do everything
Mhm.
on there. So there's a lot more capabilities that we can have now doing this stuff.
I can't get over it now. I can't get over how cool that it is. I'm getting ready to learn how to do more painting digitally. I don't know if for me it'll be something that I like to do. I do like to do the real thing. I'm just
Yeah.
learning how to paint in acrylics, but that's okay. I want to paint in acrylics and I want to use a canvas and I want to use paint. But and things called palette knives and paintbrushes. But that does
Actual brushes!
Yeah, exactly. I want to use the real thing, okay? Sue me. But the main thing is you could always do a few things digitally to get you to that point. And then what's going to happen is you're going to blossom in a certain way and say to yourself, okay, I'm going to try this now, try that. It's just try it. It might be something that you really enjoy, and I can't get over how easily it is to change if you don't like that line or you don't like that, it's so easy to erase, and they're just wonderful. And I had none of it when I was in school. No such animal existed.
So I got one more question before I ask you the last thing and show you the portrait.
Okay.
Everybody's kind of got their hands in a different project during this pandemic or things that they like to sponsor or show off. So I'm going to give you this little area. If there is anything you want people and kids to check out or any of your work that you want them to take a look at, feel free. Let us know. The world is your oyster.
Well, on Instagram, I am known as Terri Hardin Legend. TerriHardin, legend, whatever spelling is that is. But just look at Instagram, Google Terri Hardin, it'll break you there. My YouTube channel is Terri Hardin Speaks, and my website is Terri Hardin, TerriHardin. Love for you to go check out those if you want to check out those and see what that's all about. Great. The pandemic created for me the opportunity I make collectibles for my fans. And I have a good following of people, nothing astronomical, but that's okay. I appreciate that. So I will show you my hitchhiking ghosts. These are my latest endeavor. These are the hitchhiking ghosts. It took me 2 years to create. and they're very challenging. The reason it took me a long time is look at these very, very carefully. You will notice that they don't just light up like a night light. They actually are lit like a little ghost. So if you look at
Wow.
Phineas, he's the one in the cape. He's the one, the hitchhiker in the top hat and the cape. He's got a carpet bag. And if you look really closely, you can see his leg through the carpet bag. So just like a ghost, you
Wow.
see him materialize. That was the idea. Collectors wanted these ghosts to look as though, well, they didn't say, I said, this is what I'm going to do for you. I also made them so they're separate, they're individual, so you can put them anywhere. They're not stuck together. Every other sculptor before put them together. Every other sculptor before put a light bulb in the belly and made it look like it was some sort of nightlight or acid reflux or something. These guys are specters, and this is what I've been working on. And I have 50 sets of it. I had 50 sets available. I only have 10 sets left now. They're an investment because of the work that was involved in them. So I was concerned that people might find this to be a bit too rich for their blood during the pandemic, if you will, because it is an investment. So I came up with this. So here they are on the shelf. And then, so you can see each one can be in a different spot. But then I came up with ones that are a little less expensive that are called the blacklight ghosts. So they are the same sculpture pose, but a different solution to something magical. So now you use a black light and they get all that fun stuff. And then this is the way they look when they're not being hit with the black light. They're about half price, but that is still also quite an investment. That's still a bit of an investment for people because there's 3 pieces and it's not so simple. So if I go to my photos, I should be able to find it. So what I did for people who are on a budget is you'll see my face first, but I'm going to shift it over because I wanted it to be at the top of the video. But here is the blacklight hitchhiking ghost pin. So this glows in the dark and it is a pin. It's just a pin, like people collect pins. It's a pin, okay? So here it is. It's really big. It's the size of one of my lenses and it's only $20. So now you have the pin you can wear on a budget. You still get my ghosts. They still glow. $20 plus shipping. And you're set to go. So that's what I usually do when I do stuff. And this is the latest thing I've told people. This is kind of the thing that I do. You can Google me, Google Terri Hardin. That's the easiest way to find me. I'm everywhere now, thank goodness, because I finally got a clue about social media. But I try to do this all the time. Is that if somebody loves something that I'm doing, I try to do different levels so each person has a way they can buy in. Most of my sculptures run about just under $200. And even for some people, that's still very, very expensive for a single piece. But I only have an edition of 50. So I have a set of collectors who grab them right away. But I always try to do some sort of thing like the pin so that people can have a pin and if they still love that character. And so that's kind of what it's about. And then in October, if you want to learn pumpkins, again, you can email me, Terri@terrihardin.com, and say, I want to take the pumpkin class. There's a video you can buy with tools. You don't even have to talk to me. You just go to go to my website, click on online store, go buy the tools in the video, and you're set. You're good to go. So it's whatever you want to do. I try to make it so everybody has some area that they can play and do. Or if you have a question for me, they can speak to you and you can reach out to me, or they can reach out directly to me. I'm at your service. I think that's what we're put on the earth for, is to help give you guys a leg up. I'm very happy. I've done a lot of stuff, so much stuff. I can't believe when I look at my resume, I go, wow, who is that girl? Can't be real. So it's time to help others rise up. It's time to help others do stuff. And if I look familiar to you and you watch the Food Network and you've watched a pumpkin competition show, I play a judge on the show. So that's where you saw me. You're not hallucinating. I'm a judge on that show. I have been for 5 years. So, and how did I become a judge on the show? I asked them. Actually, I told them, you need to have me. And they said, why? And I said, because I'm a really good judge. And they said, but you can win thousands of dollars. And I said, no, I want to be a judge. And they jumped on it and they were very grateful. They were like, you are a good judge. So I was like, so, if you ask, all they can do is say no. This time
exactly. Love that you said that, because that's a great thing that people always forget. The worst thing that can be said to you is no. So
don't fear.
Always worth asking.
And no means no right now. Later, no can be yes. Okay. Remember, I said Walt Disney Imagineering said no to me for over a year. And then after that year mark, they said yes. So, how many times are you going to pester them until, and you don't want to pester them, but you want them to say, just let me show you what I got. You're telling me no before you even look at what I have. I could be the solution. I'm not saying I am, but I could be. And a lot of times when you are, they go, really? So.
All right. So my last question for you, it kind of takes everything, ties it up into a nice bow. If there's a kid right now watching this that is interested in any of the avenues that you've talked about today, or just wants to learn more about the industry in general, what do you think should be the one lesson they learn from this episode as they walk away from it?
Do it. Okay? Just do it. Social media. What does it take? I know you guys have Instagrams out there. I know you guys have YouTubes out there. Don't tell me you don't. So now you just post it. Okay? You create what you want. Pretend, if you want to be a Walt Disney Imagineer, pretend you are a Walt Disney Imagineer. And your next project is what? What is it that's missing in a park that you love? And now you design it. You draw it out, you write the story, you create what it's going to be. Is it going to be a roller coaster? Is it going to be a boat ride? Is it going to be like Jungle Cruise? Is it going to be like Splash Mountain? Whatever. And then you just do it. And then you post your process and talk about it and say, this is what I want to do. Okay. If you just like the girl who just got out there, her parents filmed her and she did her drum stuff. And look where she is now. I guess it was Journey, where the guy sang as the lead singer. And the next thing you know, he was the lead singer. There's all kinds of different stories of people who have just posted it up there. They came looking for them and boom, the young lady who did the poem at the inauguration and is now best friends with Oprah, she found a passion and she spoke her truth and she did it. And look where she is now. And she's like, wow, this is so amazing. But she never let anything, I'm sure people told her she was a woman. She was kind of like, I'm glad you clarified that for me. I was always wondering. You're Black. Another thing I really was curious about. Last time I looked in the mirror, I didn't know. Really? I'm sure people told her things that were so flippin' obvious to her as a young girl. And she's kind of like, and your point is what exactly? And then she just went for it. Don't let that stuff stop you. You don't want to be mean about it. And you don't want to be crazy. You don't want to be dangerous. But she knew that she had a voice and she knew her voice had to be heard. And so she went for it. And now look where she is at such a young age. And everybody's going, wow, she's so amazing. Why is this amazing? Because so many people seem to stop themselves before they get there. That's why people like this young lady seem amazing. And I don't want to say she's not amazing. She is amazing. She kept going. But I believe anyone can do it. They just have to make that decision. So all you guys out there, if you draw or you sketch or you paint or whatever you want to do, whatever you do, if you want to do it for a living, start posting it and start telling people what you want to do. And just pretend that you are that already and post it. I think that's what I would do. If I was a kid today and I knew my social media, that's what I would do. I would say, I'm an Imagineer. Here's the ride I designed. Here's my dragon I designed. Here's the sketches. Here's what this is going to look like. Here's what that's going to look like. This is what I pitched when I was at Imagineering. The dragon's going to do this. This is how he's going to be. This is how he's going to react. This is what it is. Here's where the people walk in. Here's where the people exit. Here's the wow moment. Here's where they realize it's a dragon. Right here at this point. Not here. Here. You see, if you're the more specific you are, I'm just saying, I just can't imagine you're not going to nail it. It may take time, but they're looking for people that can do this. We've seen it during the pandemic. So, you always wanted to write a book. There are so many sites out there that you can just write a book. You don't have to go to a publisher. You don't have to write a cover letter. You just write the book and publish it. So there's a lot of cool stuff that's out in this 21st century. I just can't get over how exciting this world is for people who want to create something new. They just do it. So
I love that lesson. That's such a great lesson, I think, for any job in particular, even if it's not in the entertainment industry. If you are passionate about something, no better way to get into it than just doing it. So
absolutely. And you can have a Kickstarter. There's Kickstarter. There's GoFundMe. There's Indiegogo who can even get you backing. So, have your parents shoot it, help you write it, do everything, and then share with passion. There's so many things that allow you to do just what you want right now that I can't wait to see what you all are going to do, with your lives. That's what makes the future look good, is your attitude in moving forward and doing whatever you want to do and change the world because you believe you can.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with everybody that was watching. I hope y'all learned a lot from that. Now comes my favorite part of the episode, where I'm going to show you what I was making of you while we were chatting. I am going to warn you in advance, the lights in my studio love to mess with things. So I will send you an actual copy of it so you can take a closer look. But I'm going to try to get this up in here without...
Oh, how cute! I love it.
The lights.
See, I was going to say, oh my God, no. But... But I said, that's not fair. Let's not be mean. That's not cool.
No, that would have been hilarious. That would have been hilarious.
I'm sure
I can use that laugh right now.
Everyone tells you it's amazing, and there I was going, wow, I should have just said, oh,
I did have somebody once say like, oh, I'm always very particular, and I'm like, well, now you gave me an extra level of stress. Let's go. Oh man,
very particular. You could have done and this is not to belittle your wonderful art, but I'm so proud of my dreadlocks because they are the result of years of trying to bend my hair to my will. And honestly, you could have done 2 dots and a smiley face and done the dreadlocks. I would have been, wow, you've got it. Because I have artists that try to erase the dreadlocks and make them more something else. And I'm kind of like, dude, are you serious? Really?
No, I think hair is like, I think at least when drawing, hair is one of the most important features of a person to draw, because a lot of times it tells a story about who they are and where they come from. So I think it's always super important, and I was so excited. I'm like, oh, I get the chance to stretch my legs and get to do a different hairstyle than I normally get to, because a lot of times people are very straight haired, so I love getting to...
And they've got the white hair, the hair that's the same wet as it is
yes
dry. Mine is now because it's dreadlocks, but let me tell you, when it was like this, you loved it wet, and then when it was dry, it was a pom-pom on my head. So I was like, oh man. So the dreadlocks are a godsend for me as an artist, and I don't have to worry about them. They use the properties of my own hair. So I love that. But I really do. I took a painting class and did my first painting. And my teacher, who was never present because it was a video, it was one of those where, she shows you that it's a video. She probably did the videos like 8 years ago. But the point is she did what you said, the straight hair, right? And then I was like, okay, I have to figure out how to paint my dreadlocks. And even if she was here, she'd be like, yeah, I don't think she would have had any clue of how to paint.
Oh
I just took the bull by the horns and said, I can do this. I can figure
no!
this out.
Yes!
But it was really funny. And when I show the work, I tell people, I say, it's my first painting. Here it is. And look at those dreadlocks. They really looked like dreadlocks. I'm most proud of those because it was a challenge, it was different. And it took a long time because unlike you being able to paint your base, if somebody's hair is like this and you paint your base all black, I had to paint each and every little. And I was like, oh my gosh, who wrote in for this? Who signed up for this? So it's really lovely. It's really fun. I really appreciate you taking the time to be kind to Dreadlocks Day.
Absolutely. I think, I always tell people, I think that the more texture you have with hair, the more fun it is anyways. It looks more appealing to the eyes. So thank you so much for letting me get to do this with you and chat with you. And I hope you kiddos learned a lot from this episode because I know I certainly did. Thank you again so much. And thank you again to everyone who tuned in. Again, I'm your host and in-house artist, Erin Leffler. Catch you next time on the drawing board.